Well, Zuko here. If you don't know, my name is Jess, but I go by Zimmy on the internet because one time I was 15. So, today I'm doing my January reading wrap-up. I read 15 books this month, and I DNF'd a couple, but I don't think I'm gonna go into those this month. We'll see. I don't know. Truthfully, I can't remember if I read these at the end of December or if I read them in January. So I guess let's just start with the first book I read this year, which I had read the most of in December, but you know, and that was This Might Hurt a Bit by Doogie Horner. So this is a book about grief. It is about a boy whose family has gotten up and moved after his sister died of cancer, and it is the 1 year anniversary since her death, and he has never really talked about or acknowledged or started going through the grief process. But he has been keeping a book that he's been writing in, and his mother finds it, and she decides if he isn't going to talk to her, that she's going to read what he's been writing. And it kind of follows that whole deal. It was a pretty good book. I wouldn't say it was good enough where I would ever reread it, but it was good enough that I gave it a 3 to 5 stars. Next is Where the Drowned Girls Go by Shauna Maguire. This is the 7th book in the Wayward Children series. This is like a 2-star read. I simply hate Cora. I think Cora is a terribly written character, and her whole characterization constantly, the first half of all of the books she's in, is where she talks about how fat she is and how everybody hates her because she's fat and how she's fat. And also, did you know she's fat? And by the way, she's fat. But guys, she always mentions, she has to tell you that she's the good kind of fat. It's not her fault that she's fat. She doesn't eat a lot. She eats healthy. She likes eating healthy, and she moves a lot. She's really active. She loves sports and swimming and exercise. But she's fat, so like, it's not her fault. She's a good fat. So we have to love and respect Cora because she's a good fat. If she was the bad kind of fat, if she was the lazy kind of fat, if she was the overeats kind of fat, absolutely fuck Cora, but she makes sure she tells you she's not that kind of fat. I fucking hate it. I can't stand it. Cora just is so self-righteous-y. And she focuses on how fat she is constantly. Like, I know that it is harder to be an overweight person, and I have fat friends, and you know what their personality isn't? That they're fat. But you know Cora? Her personality is this: she's fat, but she's the good kind of fat. Hate it. Can't stand Cora. Fuck that shit. Ugh, I'm so tired. I wish Shauna Maguire would stop fucking writing about Cora, because she just demonizes people who are fat without being healthy, without exercising, the fat people who don't eat healthy, the fat people who don't move a lot. Like, I don't even know if she's shitting on it intentionally, but she does. And it just comes off so poorly, and I hate it so much. So yeah. Also, this book has a plot where they go to a school, the other school, that deals with wayward children. And it's a thing, I guess. I don't know. Then I read Harrow the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, and part of me is like, gosh, like, I bought Gideon when it, like, came out. I had Harrow pre-ordered, and I hadn't read them. And I'm like, gosh, I wish I had read them as they were coming out. Like, I wish that I had started reading them sooner. Then, like, I don't wish that I had a bigger wait between books. Even now, waiting until September, I'm like, that's so long. I'm a baby. Somebody give me the 3rd book now. I guess I'm glad that I read them now, but I'm also like, I should have waited until they were all out. But I'm also like, I want to read them all 2 years ago. So I love these books. I could not explain to you the plot of Harrow the Ninth. I found it less confusing than Gideon because I'm really bad with names, and all of the bullshit made up names in these books is absurd, and I couldn't follow them at all in Gideon the Ninth, but there were less of them in Harrow, so I had a lot more ease following along with what was happening because I knew who most of them were. Except because I'm really bad with names, I ended up spoiling myself because I was trying to find out, oh, these 2 names, they sound really similar. I can't tell if the narrator, if Moira Quirk is saying the same word, or if they are 2 different names that just sound similar. So I need to go and Google and see what the 2 names are. And then I just like I kept accidentally reading spoilers, but it didn't ruin the book for me because these books are gold. So yeah, this was a 5-star read for me, of course. Then I read Challenger Deep by Neil Shusterman. This is a book about a teenager who is dealing with the onset of schizophrenia and paranoid delusions, and he is living kind of part-time in the real world but part-time in the kind of reality he's built in his head where he is a crew member on a ship. And I thought that this book was really well done. There's a line in this book that was amazing in which someone says, dead kids get put on pedestals, but mentally ill kids get hid under the rug. And when when a person is mentally sick, we're just like not wanting to talk about it, not wanting to acknowledge it, not wanting to bring attention to it. But if a kid like takes their own life, then suddenly we care a lot and we want to do everything, and we're going to be like mental health awareness, blah, 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 you know? I just find that a good thing to put in a book. Next, I read Dark Rise by C.S. Packet. I'm going to do a whole rant review on this book that I didn't like it. It was weak, the characters were weak, everything was mediocre at best, and I didn't like it, and the villains were named things like James and Simon, and I just couldn't take them seriously. They're like, oh no, you guys look out, it's Tom. And like, I know like bad guy can be anybody, but like no, no, mm-mm. It was stupid. I didn't like this book. This was a 2-star read. Then I read Before We Disappear by Sean David Hutchinson. This is my first book by them that I've ever read, and it was pretty good. It's a middle grade book, and I definitely felt like it was middle grade, and that doesn't mean that it wasn't a good book. It means that I am older than middle grade. So a lot of the things in it I found really predictable. So I probably will be passing this along eventually to a school library because I think that it would get more love there than it's going to get on my shelves. But I thought this was a really cute book. Follows 2 teenage boys who are part of like traveling circuses, and they're both part of separate acts, and they end up kind of falling for each other while also having to save one of the boys from the man who has raised him. So it's a whole thing. It's very fun. And if you know any like middle schoolers who are interested in a queer reading experience, I would recommend this, but there is some trigger warning for child abuse in this book, so I just go in with caution. Then I started reading Night World by L.J. Smith. This is a paranormal fantasy romance series that came out in the late 90s, and it was never finished. It's been 24 years since the last book was published, and we're waiting for book 10, and I've only been waiting since I was 13 or 14. Some people have been waiting for 24 years, so I think I'm doing okay. I don't think this book is ever going to be published, but these all follow characters who are either humans falling in love with people from the night world, or night world people falling in love with humans. And the night world people include vampires, shapeshifters, werewolves, witches, and like old souls. And it's about them kind of falling in love for the first like 6 or 7 books. And then after that, we get an overarching plot kind of there are 4 powers who are going to stop the end of the world. I think it's going to be a like Y2K situation. So, you know, that book 10 gonna be real outdated if it comes out anytime ever at this point, but that's fine. These books are fun. I also tried to vlog my reading experience the first bit, and I didn't continue on with it, so I'll put the vlog footage up here. I just realized that I should be vlogging this, so give me a second. So last year I binge read all 12 of the House of Night books. I don't know, where are they? They're right, is that them? They're right there, I think. Yeah, they're right there. I binge read all 12 of those in January. They were awful. I had fun. Now this year I'm like, okay, I want to read all of my Night World books. If you don't know what Night World is, they are a series written by L.J. Smith, who is the writer behind Vampire Diaries. There were 9 books. There were supposed to be 10. It's been 24 years, almost as long as I've been alive, since she's been like, oh, the 10th book will come out soon, but then she took a like writing hiatus between I think 1998 and 2008. So I guess that's why she still hasn't produced the final book in a 10-book series. Like, these are not long books, and she wrote 9 of them and published them really fast, but won't finish the series, which I think is weird. I've been waiting for the end of the series since middle school, and that was 12 years ago. And I guess there are people who've been waiting twice that long, so I guess I'm lucky. But I actually didn't finish the series because when I had bought them, it was Twilight hype, right? So they were like, Walmart was just stocking a bunch of like fun paranormal romance books, and these had just been republished as like, because there's 9 books, each was in a bind up. So there were 3 bind ups of 3 books each. And my second bind up, I believe, was a misprint. So I couldn't finish a story in there. It might be even the first story in there. So then I kind of gave up on the series because I couldn't read it. But I own now all of the like collectible editions. So I'm reading all of these right now. And I just started Secret Vampire, I think is the title of the first one. And I figured I should vlog my reading experience. And so far, these books feel like they're written really like amateur. Just the writing is poor. And on like the first or second page, the main character walks in and goes, oh, I'm having really bad pain. And then her brother goes, eat breakfast. And she eats like 1 Frosted Flake, then dances around the kitchen in an oversized t-shirt and nothing else in front of her brother while singing that she is a sex pixie. So these books are going to be a wild ride. I barely remember anything about them. I know one of them has twin witches, and that one of them has like 3 vampire sisters on like a farm, and there's like an evil vampire, but he's like the edgy bad boy that I was like, yeah, because I'm garbage. I'm a garbage person. I've been a garbage person my whole life. I'm just like, yes, give me the edgy one. I have iced tea. Am I excited to read these? Kind of. Am I dreading reading these? Kind of. But they're all like 4 to 6 hour audiobooks, or I think maybe 200 to 300 page books. So they're not long. It'll be okay. I can do this. I'm actually kind of excited to get back into this world and see what happens, because there was an overarching plot that, or overarching. There was a plot being developed that like spanned all of the books, and it used to be exciting because like you'd get cameos from like the main character in this book is Poppy and the boy she likes who's a secretly vampire, James, and they kind of show up in other books, but each book is like told by a different perspective, so that's kind of fun. We're just gonna read all of these, and I guess I'm gonna vlog about it because I don't know, this seems like a fun thing to vlog, you know, because I'm bad at getting all of my thoughts out all at once. So if I can share my thoughts as I go, doesn't seem like a bad time. Okay, let's see how this goes. Okay, so spoilers if you haven't read these books that are from 1996. This is a weird camera angle. I'm just holding this. Okay, but Poppy has pancreatic cancer that has spread, and her parents found out, and they're like, we should have taken her in sooner. And like, I get that this is like an American thing, but the book starts with her being like, yeah, I've had this pain for a while. So like, yeah, you should have taken her in sooner. Would it have maybe changed the outcome? Probably like not, it's sounding like, but like you should have taken her in sooner. You should feel a little bit bad for not taking her weird pain seriously, because why wouldn't you take that pain seriously? I'm sorry if this is a really shaky camera. I'm sorry that I shook it to demonstrate the fact that it's a shaky camera, but yeah, that bothered me. So it has been explained to Poppy now that if she wants to become a vampire, she has to drink James's blood when he drinks her blood, and they have to like swap drinking blood, and if she doesn't, she'll die, and she knows this. And then she and James had this big random drama for no reason. I don't know why we need more drama. She's dying of cancer, like I feel like that's enough. But when he calls her and is like, you didn't drink my blood, you're going to die if you don't, she's like, that's blackmail, you're sick. Could you imagine telling that to a doctor, where they're just like, hey, like, you have cancer, you need chemotherapy, and you're just like, no, and they're like, okay, then you're gonna die, and they just go, that's blackmail, you're sick. Like, why? And now we have learned that only teenagers can become vampires. If you are in your 20s, you'll just die. It's like, I don't know, the teenage fantasy of being 16 I don't think I ever wanted to be 16 forever. Maybe I did. I don't know. I'm very far past being 16. I don't remember that. But why? Why the drama in these books? I'm only on the first one. Does it get worse or better? I hope better. In theory, you get better as you write more. The House of Night books don't really prove that theory, but maybe these ones will. Okay, I'm gonna keep reading. Oh god. Okay, so now Poppy is like, oh my god, I wasted high school. I should have been learning. She's like, oh, I should have used my brain for learning things instead of trying to outsmart the teachers. Like, these are not real thoughts that a human being has ever had before. These are, well, what? No, that doesn't happen. That's not real. It's so bad. Oh my god. Okay. Oh, these books. Okay, I finished book 1. It was silly. I like that Ash is this super dangerous guy. He's super dangerous because he treats women badly. Like, get in line. What shitty teenager does not? Like, I don't know. I went to high school and we never went, oh my god, you have to stay away from that guy. We did. We were like, stay away from this guy. We were like, he's so dangerous. We were like, he's an asshole. But no, Ash is super dangerous because he doesn't respect women. My puppy's screaming upstairs. But I am on to book number 2, Daughters of Darkness. We'll see how this one goes. I like that already the drama is not that there is a teenager with cancer, because then you have to add weird drama around that, I guess, by being like, but what if she doesn't trust James anymore? So hopefully the weird drama they add into this one doesn't have to overshadow cancer, you know? Okay, everybody say goodbye to Sad Pug. Thank you so much, Sad Pug, for your opinion. Okay, I am part of the way through the first book, second book. And this one follows 3 sisters who are moving into their aunt's house, and they find her corpse there. They're like, oh no, a vampire hunter, because in this world vampires can be born or turned, and they're all born vampires. And her aunt's been their aunt's been murdered by somebody. So clearly there's a vampire hunter around. And the neighbors are like, hey, I noticed you guys just moved in here. Where'd your aunt go and why'd I see you trying to bury something in the garden? And to make matters worse, Ash, the bad boy who was dangerous because he doesn't respect women, he's their brother and he's shown up and he's falling in love with the neighbor girl who is suspicious of the sisters. And she's like, that boy is hot, so he's got to be dumb, and keeps describing him as a cat. And Ash's hair is exclusively described as ash blonde, which is like, it's a little bit on the nose. It's a little bit on the nose. As a like tween, I really liked Ash because he was the edgy bad boy, but his eyes also changed color, and I thought that was cool. Do I still think that's cool? Yeah. Do I think guys with like ash blonde hair are cool? No, because I'm kind of picturing him looking like Eminem. I don't know if his hair length has ever been described or if they just keep saying his ash blonde hair, but I'm like, ah yeah, Eminem and his bleached hair. What are you sniffing? What are you sniffing? Oh, okay. These books are not written well, but so far I'm having fun. I guess if you're curious, for the first book, there's trigger warnings for like cancer and death by cancer and medical stuff, I guess. And for the second one, there's animal death. These are just like the uncommon ones that you wouldn't expect in like a vampire book, you know? But there are kittens that a character decides to travel with in a suitcase because she's only allowed to bring one. So she puts one in a carrier and two in a suitcase and they die, which is a choice. But you know, so far, I'm kind of enjoying the ride. I'm kind of like, this is silly, but like, yeah. I think I'm gonna try to finish this book tonight because they're all really short. I think it's a like 5-hour audiobook and I'm already an hour through it and I'm like, okay, well, 4-hour audiobook, I listen at double speed, I've got 2 hours, I can easily do that tonight. So I'm gonna try to do that. If it's unclear, I'm gonna be spoiling these books because they are 24 years old, because I think it's silly, a lot of the choices that are made in these books. And yeah, maybe I will update you as I'm reading this, maybe I won't. It's a toss-up. It's an adventure. I'll let you know at least what I've rated it at the end of this. I forgot to say, after I finished the first book, that I guess I had initially rated it 4 stars, even though I had read it years before I had Goodreads, so I was just kind of guessing, and I'm like, well, I remember having fun with it. I've lowered that rating to a 3-star. That's probably going to be the average that this series gets because I have nostalgia for it in my heart, but they're not great, you know? They're also incredibly heterosexual books. There's like, what, 9 of them? And I think at least I read like 5 or 6 of them when I was a teenager before I hit the misprint in my book, and they were all heterosexual, very formulaic. I know that an overarching plot was happening, I think I mentioned that, but as far as I know, each book involves a pair of soulmates finding each other. I don't know if that continues through the last 3 or 4 books, but I am expecting a bunch of heterosexual bullshit as I read these books. Okay, on to read book 2. Up here, I gave the first book, Secret Vampires, 3 stars. I gave the second book, Daughters of Darkness, 3 stars. I gave the third book, Spellbinder, 3 stars. I gave the fourth book, Dark Angel, 3 stars. I gave the fifth book, The Chosen, I think, 2 stars. It wasn't very good. There were major personality shifts with the characters. Like, as soon as they fell in love, their whole personalities just changed. I hated it. I gave the sixth book, Soulmate, 3 stars. Then took a little break, read The Disasters by M.K. England because I believe the Bookish Mom recommended it to me. And it was very fun. I thought it was fast-paced, it was fun. I liked the characters, but, and I never say this, I think it should have been longer. There were a lot of things that I think should have been fleshed out and developed more than they were, but otherwise, you know, it was a solid like high 3 stars, you know, like 3.5. It was good. I had a lot of fun reading it, and I've been in a reading slump post all of the Night World I'd been consuming back to back, so it was very refreshing. And then I went back and read book 7 of the Night World series, which was Huntress, and I think that one's the best one I've read so far. That was a 4-star read. I just finished it and it was great. It is this book in which the overarching plot really starts to emerge and become prevalent, and I think it was done well and I liked all of the characters. So yeah, those are all of the books that I read in January. Let's hope I can keep up this momentum. Maybe I could read 200 books this year. That would be so exciting. Hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know down below any of the books that you read in January, or all of them. You can tell me all of them if you want to. And I will see you whenever I do my next video. There's a dog on my arm. You're such a bad dog. You're such a bad dog.